Hi, this is Sam Sandoval. I'm a faculty and extension specialist at UC Davis. This time we're going to be talking about groundwater. So the main objective of this video is to explain you about a groundwater system. What are the rivers, what is an aquifer, what is groundwater, what is an aquifer, how rivers interact with aquifers, what are wells, piezometers. So let's start by defining what are you seeing in this model. So let's start with the basics. If the ground is surrounded by water, we call it groundwater. It is that simple. So whenever you see a piece of soil that is completely surrounded by water, let's say in the pots of your flowers, that is actually groundwater. So in this case, in this model, I have put some water inside here. You can see it in these levels, and you can see that actually these are the levels, or this is the level of the water. Everything, all the soil that is underneath, all the water that is in the porous media, in the soil underneath this, is called groundwater. Now, what is an aquifer? So again, groundwater, if the soil is surrounded by water, we call it groundwater. But the container that actually store all that groundwater, we call it aquifer. So we have groundwater, and groundwater is contained in aquifers. So those are the two main things. Now, in this model, we have an upper aquifer and a lower aquifer. These two aquifers are divided by this layer that is of compacted clay. So it is an impermeable layer. Well, not that impermeable. In reality, what will happen is that water will pass through it. It will take a lot of time. So for practical purpose, we can consider it impermeable, but if you give it enough time, it will pass. Now, this upper aquifer, because it has interaction with the atmosphere, with this upper portion, and can move freely right and left, we call it unconfined aquifer. So this is what we call this, well, this is the upper aquifer. Then aquifers that are surrounded by a confining layer like this, we call them confined aquifers. In reality, this one, if this aquifer is this space underneath here was completely encapsulated, we will call it a confined aquifer. But in this portion of the model, we have a screen that actually is allowing water to move from this column to the right. So in this case, this may be a semi-confined aquifer because it has certain connection with the upper aquifer in here. So let's talk about piezometers. So similarly, like we use a thermometer to measure temperature, we use a piezometer to measure the water elevation in the ground. What is a piezometer? Basically, you drill a hole in the ground, and then you have a screen where actually water can get in. As water gets in, it will go as high as the water table in the surrounding soil. That's how we measure the water table. In this case, this is what I draw in here. As you can see here, these are the water levels that are in this upper aquifer. Now, as you can see, we have piezometers in the upper aquifer at different depths, and we have piezometers in the deepest aquifer. Also, we have wells, and in this case, these wells, we have one well in the upper aquifer and one well in the lower aquifer. This is how we can actually extract water out of an aquifer. So just as a summary, if the ground is surrounded by water, we call it groundwater. Aquifer is the container, the repository of all that groundwater. We have talked about unconfined aquifers, a confining layer, and confined aquifers. We also talked about piezometers, which is how we measure the water table, and wells, which is how we can extract or inject water. Let's keep in touch.